It is Monday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This bicycle needs to be at Autorama Thursday by noon. Well, no, it needs to be done by Thursday by noon, I should say. Now, of course, it ain't going like this. We're gonna do something pretty cool. I'm Ronnie Danger. This is Scrapyard Choppers. We gotta get to cutting because this ain't gonna cut it. Now, a couple issues that I really. Issue number one, we get some bent forks. Probably gonna try to bend these back. I really want this to be a patina build. In case you don't know, we build custom bicycles here, and I run the custom bicycle show at Autorama, so I gotta have a bicycle there. I also started a bike build off on the Freak Bikers Unite on Facebook, where we had to build a bicycle out of a frame this style, cruiser bike style frame. This is the Western Flyer. You got to use the entire frame, but you can cut it up however you want. And how I'm doing mine is this tire is going right here. Now, some of you have been around a minute, probably saying to yourself, well, you already have a bike kind of like that. I'm well aware. People always try to buy my murdered Murray bicycle. I'm going to build another one and try to sell it. Now, the goal is to maintain this frame as much as possible. I don't want to change anything. I kind of want to build this bike as though someone in 1970 something decided they were going to put their power cat meow on the back of their bicycle with a Cregar, of course, because that's what the cool wheel was back then. How are we going to accomplish this? Well, there's a couple different ways. We got to mill the jack shaft because this is a lot wider than this. So we got to put it some kind of chain coming out. We might have to move these pedals forward. This whole crank assembly, cut it out, move it forward, but then that's going to interfere with this. So if that interferes with this, we got to rake the forks out. I'm going to have to probably cut it up here or make some kind of shenanigans happen. But really, the frame is last. We got to make this a bicycle wheel instead of a car wheel. We got to put a sprocket out here. We got to put a tube through the center. And that's where we're going to start getting this power cat mounted up. I mean, it's already mounted, but I'm getting it ready to be pedaled. Stay cat. All right, now the first thing we got to do is determine our axle length overall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this on top of here and measure through to the table, because the table is obviously flat on the back side. And that kind of gives us a rough estimate. We'll call it 11 inches. Now, got myself a tube right here. It's going to go through the center here. And then we have the sprocket side of a bicycle. Still got all the bearings and stuff. You know, basically we need this sprocket and this half of the axle. So I'm going to have to cut this axle in half. We're going to have to stretch it overall. So this is the same size around as this pipe. So these match up perfectly. So they're going to get just welded straight together. And then our chain obviously is going to come to this. This has to be attached to the wheel. We know we're going to go 11 inches. And that'll put, 11 inches is the minimum we could go, I should say. We're probably going to go 12 inches overall. That'll give us a ½ inch out of each side. Plus, what do we got here? Plus about 3/8. So 3/4 of an inch out of it will be farther out on each side. So we got room for the chain to come to here, and we got room for the bike frame to go around. So 12 inches. I gotta cut that. I really wish I had a bandsaw. It would sure make my life a lot easier. Or a chop saw. But I have a grinder and a marker. Pretty much gonna build this entire thing with a grinder, a welder, a tape measure, and really nothing else. All right, since we're cutting this by hand, it's really tempted to make a mark on one side when you're doing something like this. like that, and then you start your cut there, and then you just go to cutting. But that's not what we're going to do, because we're doing this by hand. We're going to mark this all the way around. Taking our time to make sure we got our tape measure straight. Probably if I hung it off the end here. There we go. I don't know how to fabricate. Some kind of crusty stuff stuck to this side. All right, cool. So now that should be at 12 inches. Now this should be 12 inches all the way around. That way, when I start cutting, I just turn this piece and follow the line. I'm not trying to slice all the way through from above. I'm trying to just follow this line all the way around, and it should be a hell of a lot better than if I just tried to plunge it in and slice it through. That's not bad at all. I know when you first start fabricating, this is probably one of the most intimidating tools in the shop. Don't be scared of it. Wear some thick gloves. If it moves or bounces or anything like that, it should skip off these gloves for the most part. I mean, you might cut through the glove and get a little scratch, but it's a heck of a lot better. Or put a shield on if you're, scared of using the big boys like I do, because they make smaller ones and you can put a shield on. But I don't like the shield. I feel like it always gets in my way. I'm always moving it. I'm always dealing with it. I just rather grab it, cut it, get it done. Have been cut by it a few times, but nothing ever serious, because like I said, I wear my welding gloves when I'm cutting with it. So now we got that done. I'm going to take over here to bench grinder. I'm going to clean up both ends. And then we actually got to get another bicycle up here and get this rear rim pulled apart. I think a good goal for the first night, if we can get this wheel to be wheeling with a chain, and then we get maybe a jack shaft built, would be in pretty good shape. Or maybe start cutting the frame and then worry about jack shaft later. Whatever. Now, to finish our axle that we started building, which I cleaned up both ends. I put a slight bevel on both ends. I didn't want to get too crazy, because like I said, this other piece lines up perfect with it. I'm just gonna have to butt weld it. It'll be plenty strong enough, because I've done it before and it hasn't broke yet. We need the opposite piece to this, which we're gonna take off this rim right here. And then we need this piece, the freewheel part. That's gonna go on our jack shaft. That's gonna allow this whole thing to work, so you aren't constantly pedaling. So we just gotta get these apart. Okay, I thought that was gonna be stuck on there. Get this wheel off real quick. I'll just do this boring, normal bike stuff. Pull these couple nuts, get this wheel off, and then we'll come back and we're gonna cut out all the spokes, pull this axle apart, and yeah, cut this sucker in half. Now we sacrifice this wheel to a good cause. What we're gonna do is cut all the spokes, because, well, that's just what we're gonna do. I'm bolting all this stuff for no reason. When you could go. One side done. There's one left. Get up there. There we go. I just gotta get all the end pieces off. all the little nubs. There we go. Now we're just going to cut it in half. This doesn't have to be precise because more than likely this is probably going to fit inside that. So we got to cut this axle in half. Let's do it all at once. We got to trim some of these little guys off real fast, but there goes nothing. Huh. Who needs bearings, I guess? All right. Now we need this end to go on here. It's a loose fit. But the cool part is you got all these holes, right? You can really line it up, just eyeballing it off them holes. Throw a tape measure on it. And we're going to weld it all together right there. So now what I'm going to want to do, we don't need this end right now. We're going to scoop up all these freaking bearings. I'm going to find some other bearings to put in it. Maybe, I don't know if this one's supposed to not have the part that holds the bearings in or what. I'm assuming not because it's not there. But yeah, it's really good to roll these around in your metal shavings. It's perfectly healthy for the bearings. It's so when they're spinning, they seat themselves better. Perfect. Now we're going to clean this up on the grinder, bench grinder. With that, all we're doing is we're getting the paint off it. I don't know why I started yelling. All we're doing is getting the paint off it, get it cleaned up and ready to be welded. Probably get all this crap off the inside too. That's nice and clean when we put it back together. There we go. That's all we're going to clean up. I'm going to clean this up by hand. I don't want to get all this paint off of here. It's going to probably melt off when I'm welding it because it's going to get really hot. But we're building the rat rod. We ain't gonna clean this thing up. Sort of a rat rod. Okay, now I got all that stuff cleaned up and ready to go. We need to make the axle, you know, turn this wheel. Obviously, we just stick it through here. We can make this turn all day long, but it does nothing for the tire. So, we're gonna use this thick, heavy piece of plate that doesn't fit in here. And we're gonna, I was gonna drill a hole and run this through. That's how I normally do it. Shoot, there's still gotta be a hole in the middle. I don't have a drill bit or a hole bit that's the exact same size as this tube. It says it's 1.5 inches. My 1.5 inch drill bit is at my house. And this thing's thick. Might have to run home and go get that drill bit. I was gonna say we're gonna cut this in half and then weld this in the middle, but I gotta run an axle through there. And I can't exactly run an axle through this piece of steel. I'd have to still drill a hole. I'd have to be really precise. So I think we're gonna have to run home and get that bit. But we have to figure out where this piece of plate goes on this because of the offset of this wheel. AK, what's this edge to here and what's this to here? So I think the way we're gonna figure this out lay it on its back. So we're looking straight down in here. Where did I put the ruler? Did I hang it back up like a responsible adult? I did. All right, now we need something else. Or we can just guess. So what we're gonna do is measure down to the table, up to there, to right where the mounting spot is. So that's 5 1/4. Should probably have something to write this down. Flip it over. We're gonna put this back. And we're actually gonna hook the edge down here. 5 3/8. Let's flip this back over. I think I see what the difference is. The letters are raised on that side of the tire and they're not raised on this side of the tire. I think this is dead center inside this wheel. Five 1/8. 5 5/8. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna write this down. I'm getting all kinds of confused. So we're gonna call this the back side. 5 5/8. Sure, 5 5/8. We're not going to be on this raised part of the letters. 5 3/8. B for back, F for front, 5 3/8. So, what is that, a difference of 1/4 of an inch? I'm really mathlexic. I don't know how you say that. I have an idea. Instead of doing all this, which I just started doing the math to try to figure out where to weld this piece to the center of this, or wherever it's got to be put in here. We're gonna knock this hole in here. We're gonna make it fit on here, do all the things with this hole in here. We're gonna weld up both ends with this sitting in here. And then what we're gonna do is measure lay this on here. Basically, center the wheel up for everything together with this still moving, and then weld it somehow. That's what we're gonna do. Yeah. I think that's gonna be the best thing. So what I think I'm gonna do for now is we're gonna make a template for in here. Because I want the plate to go on here. We'll knock the holes in it, bolt it. After this is all done, find center, put the hole in it, and go from there. This is not gonna be fun to drill through. So, I gotta do something real quick. I'll be back in a second. Really, that doesn't matter to you because it's really gonna be right now, and we're gonna make a template. So obviously we need a piece of plate in here. The axle run to it. This piece of plate, as I showed you before. So I was gonna make a stencil, and something was kind of coming back to me. Like, this is round right here. Obviously the rim's round, but this mounting spot is round. So if I could find something the same size as this, might make making a stencil a lot easier. Oh, this thing's heavy. Bigger, way bigger. Bigger. A lot of round things just sitting next to me. I did not stage that. Bigger. We're running out of round things. How did I get a metal sliver already? A little bicycle sprocket. To the tips of the sprocket, this is the right size. The holes of this sprocket kind of line up with those holes. Kind of got me thinking. And there's already a center hole in this. And that's kind of marked center. As long as the teeth are all the way around, kind of lined up. Put a freaking bolt there, bolt there, bolt there, bolt there, bolt there. And make this center bigger. How much bigger are we gonna make it? Yeah, make that bigger. This is honestly, should be plenty strong, I would think. I know I was just talking about going with this big thick piece of metal, but I couldn't find 1/8 inch without cutting it out of, I got a big sheet. See, I got my metal all organized over here as we go on a random trip. This is 3/16. I really just don't have a piece of 1/8 inch big enough square to cut that out of, or cut a circle out of. Yeah, there's more of that plate right there. Got my circles, angles, random stuff. Went ahead and redid this whole shelf up here. Yeah, it took a long time. I got some thin stuff. I think that's too thin. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna use this. It looks good. I think it should be strong enough. Once this is bolted down, we could add some strength to it. Maybe if I put some big washers on here with the bolts and then weld the washers in. I don't know, we'll play with that later. But it's got a center hole already. We can work off this. Okay, I just grabbed some hardware I got sitting over here too. We're not gonna put brand new grade 8 bolts in this because it doesn't fit the look of this bike. And I don't think it honestly needs grade 8 bolts. Well, that looks pretty dang gone cool if you ask me. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. What would you do in this situation? I think this is it. The hard part's gonna be, because this hole's so big, drilling the outside hole bigger to fit the piece through. But I kind of got a stencil already. I don't know. Got a couple ideas for that too. But I think this is the ticket. We're gonna use this. Saves a whole bunch of time from cutting out that thick stuff. I was really not looking forward to drilling through it. And look, these holes are already there, lined up, ready to go. When you tighten this down, it shouldn't move, I wouldn't think. Hopefully, we'll figure it out. Always change it later if I have to. Add some pieces. I'm gonna mess around with this hole and see if we can figure that out next. We're getting there, one way or another. Just put stuff on top of stuff and maybe you figure it out, maybe you won't. Don't be afraid to try something different. Don't be afraid to change your plans. I've been staring at this for a while and yeah, never would have thought of this. It's gonna look really cool. I don't know if it's gonna be strong enough. A lot of people probably watching this probably gonna say it's not strong enough. I have another bike upstairs that's the sprocket is used the same way. And that bike weighs 125 pounds. This bike's gonna weigh a lot less than that. And honestly, this is saving weight on the back wheel. But we're gonna go with that. Let's figure out this center hole. That's 1.5 inch bit, but it is, I think we're gonna have to drill it out with the 1.5 inch bit and then come back and freaking straighten it up later. Or, sorry, not straighten it up. Make it wider later. We can screw this down to a piece of wood. And then this bit is junk. I'm gonna get another bit that's at home. And we'll mark center with that piece of wood and drill into it with this. Hopefully that'll work. Why you gotta be bigger than 1.5 inch? Just a tiniest little bit. Okay, that's the plan. I gotta go home and get the piece of wood, or get the bit. So more than likely, at this time of night when I go home, I'm home. Because it's, I mean, It's not super late, but I have put a couple hours in on this and I just had to go do some actual work. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get the bit. I'll be back tomorrow. I have a different shirt on. So if you haven't seen yet, we have these awesome Chevette shirts. They're all done in the Street Freak style, the 1970s kind of style. Really cool shirt. They're on pre-order right now. Hoodies. And I'm gonna list t-shirts soon. We haven't got this is a test. The next one, the Chevette part, is gonna be a lot bigger. They're still gonna be white on black, of course. But yeah, link down below if you wanna get some t-shirts, support this crazy ass channel of mine. I'm making cool stuff. I'll be back in the morning. Gonna try to put a whole day in on this bike tomorrow and a whole day in on the next day. So unfortunately I didn't make my goal, but we got a good point or a good idea where we're going. So I went home and I got my brand new, well, new-ish hole saw. I was only used to cut some stuff for my shower, and it's actually the right size. Yeah, I thought this was 1.5 tubing. I thought it was weird that other 1.5 freaking hole saw bit wasn't the right size. There's something stuck in it. But anyways, so we're gonna knock a hinge in it, or we're gonna open this hole up and make it hopefully the right size. So what we're gonna do is screw this board so it can't move around. Start by doing that right now. All right, it cannot move now. Hopefully. I screw it to the table. Oh. And then we got to find center of this hole. So what I did, grabbed a lug nut, and it fits in there really nicely. It's a little loose. So I'm gonna center up the best I can. And then that should line this up pretty much right on where center should be. That looks pretty good now. Just doing the best I can here, what I got. Had a really good idea about how to do this and to actually be straight. And that was to buy a step drill bit, which is a drill bit that has like different sizes all in one shot. And it would center itself up on this and drive itself straight through. Unfortunately, no one has an 1.5 step bit anywhere near me. And I could have ordered one on Amazon, but it probably wouldn't be here till later today. And it is now Tuesday. And this bicycle has to be done by Thursday afternoon. So, as I've said before. So, okay, here we go. Well, this isn't going so well. For something that's supposed to be pretty precise, we're not doing so hot. Oh well, just keep on trucking. We gotta try to get it cut out of there. If I had to do it over, I don't know what I'd do different. Maybe go get a decent frickin' old bit versus that cheap ass one and this old worn out one. I don't know. I'm just gonna try to whittle it out of there, I guess. There it is. I did it. How well did I do it? Oh my gosh, you're not gonna believe this. Holy crap. No, well, it's gonna show up. About 2 inches, 7/8. Just a hair under 2 inches, 7/8. Well, alright, we're good. Yeah, it's really, really close all the way around. I can't believe it. I got it really tight on there. So that's gonna work. So now we're gonna slide this towards the middle. I do got a lot of rust on here. I was trying to leave it rusty, but I think I'm gonna have to clean it up because I got a weld to it still. So I'm gonna take a little break. The wife has a meeting and I make a lot of noise. So back with you in a few minutes. Well, back with you now. A few minutes for me. All right, I'm back. So check this out. I don't know how hard or easy it is you're gonna see on the camera, but spin. You're just spinning. There it is. This thing isn't going up and down at all. I nailed this for what I just went through. That was like a half hour to get this one stupid hole in this thing. I'm excited. So, before we put this in the wheel and center it all up, we gotta weld both ends on. Now I realize when I put both ends on, this is there. Can't come back off. Is what it is at that point. So, if you ever dealt with these before, you realize this outer piece is really thin. And I'm gonna melt right through when I'm welding. But I'm gonna use this to line it up, and we're gonna tack weld it, and then I'll blaze through it. So the tack welds are gonna hold this straight on here. And then when I weld through it, it's gonna be hot enough, it's gonna get inside to this thicker metal. I'm gonna melt through this outer into the inner. Should make it plenty strong. We're gonna wanna take this, put it on the side. If I tap on this hard enough, it should bend this outer part out a little bit, and then hopefully it'll sit in and flat on this inner piece. I might have to hit it a little harder. I don't want to mess it up. Oh yeah, we're doing it now. I might have to throw a little relief cut on this. If that's possible. Kind of worked. Now a little tack weld on here. Yep, missed again. All right, now we're tacked. They make squares for a reason. Let's see. Don't you fall. See that? I told it and it stayed. Good axle. So I can't get this all the way out to the end. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna do a little half-ass measuring. 1/2 inch. Half inch. Honestly. All right, that's looking really good. The cool part about chain's very forgiving for this kind of stuff. This is really, really good. Up and down, I'm just gonna go ahead and weld this. We shall call it successful. I mean, it ain't welded fully yet, but you know what I mean. I'm pretty happy. Okay. I'd call that a pretty nice weld. I had a little issue in the beginning, couldn't see nothing. Now I can. That ain't going nowhere. It is really hot. Yeah, right here, I have this issue. I'm not a professional welder. Never went to school for it or anything like that, but I know how to make some things stick together and it doesn't ever come apart, so I got that. But I started right here, I couldn't see anything out of my helmet, so there were some boogers. I got over top of that and smoothed it all out. Plenty fine. I ain't cleaning up any welds on this bicycle. We don't got time for that shenanigans. I better let this cool down, just for a minute. Next, we just got to put this side on. This side, we got all these holes all the way around. And what we're going to try to do is center this up using those holes, these holes, to this. And then we'll lay a weld all the way around it. We're going to let it cool down for a minute, because it's getting hot to hold in my welding gloves. All right, now let's cool it down. I can grab it with my hand. I originally was just going to go ahead and weld this piece on next, but I got to looking at my wheel. I need to fill this hole in. I need something to slide onto this. I was looking on my scrap metal shelf, and then this is like an expander. Goes in a exhaust tool. Pushes in, makes the tubes bigger, and it fits in here really well. There's a little gap around it. I'm glad that missed my foot. So if I wrap this around it and make sure that this is inside where you're not going to really see it, it'll actually center this wheel around this. So what I gotta do next, cut this off. We gotta get this on this tube, and then we're gonna weld this on next on this end. Once I do that, this is on and this is on. They can't come back off. I'd have to cut my weld back off, is what it is. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is gonna be a lot easier to center onto the axle off the wheel. Now everything will slide through the wheel. You know, that fits through there. That fits through there because this is going on the back side of the wheel, obviously. When we gotta be able to fit through that hole. So yeah, next, let's weld this piece. Well, let's cut this off first, then weld this on. Still really wishing I had a chop saw. There we go. All right, next part. We gotta put all this on top of this. And get it square. Yeah, we're gonna eyeball her in. Okay, I'm gonna use tape measure. 1/4 inch. Quarter inch. Just go ahead and hit it, I guess, and you know. Yeah, it's sliding around too much, so we'll just throw a tack weld on there and kind of get it to where it's gotta go. Come on, just go down a little bit. Well, that's a 1/4 inch all the way around. I suppose I could do a little measuring. Assuming that's straight to that. 12 3/8. Twelve and 3/8. Twelve and 3/8. All right. It's honestly looking straight to me. So what we're gonna do is our little tack. Now hopefully this works. That's what grinders are for. So it's about to be permanente. Alrighty then. We're gonna have to do some cleaning up on this weld. Yeah, definitely gotta do some cleaning up on this weld. Just gotta get these edges off where it started melting. Probably should have put the axle through here. Oh well. Probably gonna bite me in the ass in the end there. I'm gonna clean this up. I'll be back. We'll start getting it in the wheel. February and the door is open. Hearse is looking mighty dusty. That's next. We gotta get back on this maybe for a little bit, but the motor's coming out of this, going back in my Chevette. You don't know what my Chevette is. It's look around on the channel, you'll find it. New motor for this is under that. Still has to go to the machine shop. It's kind of far away, depending on money. But anyways, back to this bicycle. Now I'm distracted by the door being open. I kind of messed up doing this. I say kind of because I don't know yet if I have or haven't messed up. I should have, when I was put this other piece on, put the axle in, snugged it up, so that way I know the holes are lined up. I guess I could just stick this through and see what happens. Huh. Yeah, we might be golden. It feels really good. So, but anyways, really what I need to do next is put the axle in. Now, it's real simple. I'm gonna cut this in half so I have the threads, the metric threads for all the bearings and bicycle nuts and all that stuff. Now you can use this threaded rod and then get like a press sealed bearing that goes in each side. Now that I'm saying that, I have some press sealed bearings. Will they fit? Pause. Too small. Too small. Dang it. So, like I said, we're gonna cut this axle in half so we got the threads we need on both sides. We're gonna add this to the middle. And hopefully it works. Should work. Done it before. If I get that even. Not too bad. I'll call that good. All right, now we want to basically grind this down so the weld has a place to go. Because I don't want to put a flat piece to a flat piece. I want it to be curved or like a point so the weld can actually sink down into this and make it extra stronger. Let me show you. So we want all the ends to look like this. So they're touching together and then the weld's gonna fill it in back straight because I have to make sure that this will go through the hole. If I got a bunch of weld, well, it's not gonna go through the hole. And also to make it a lot stronger. So let me go ahead and grind this other one down. Really gotta figure out how long this has gotta be. Not that it's gotta be super precise. Tape measure. I mean, you've seen the episode so far. There is nothing that's got to be super precise about this. We'll call it 10.5 inches. That's looking pretty good. Now we'll make all the edges the same and then try to weld it together straight. Now the part where we got to be a little bit critical. How do we do this? A little bit critical, a little bit precise would be another way to put it. So these all got to be in here. They're in this. They should be really nice and straight. This is probably this and drilling that hole. Probably the two most nerve-wracking parts so far. And I just welded it to the side, so at least I know it ain't going nowhere now. pretty straight. Pretty straight. Now hopefully it doesn't mess up when I weld the rest of it. All right, we'll weld it all the way around. We gotta clean this up real fast because this still has to go through the holes. Or do we? You go through? Okay, you need to be cleaned up. Just bench grinder it real fast. Just take it a little bit off till it fits. Come on, you can find the hole. Can't see nothing. There we go. We have axleage. Should all work. It's kind of sticking out a little farther than I would like it. That's fine. Just want to make sure that this was going to work and this. So after we get the wheel done, we can put it all together and it's done. I don't want to put the axle in yet because I don't know if I'm going to have to stand it up on one end or what the deal is, what we're going to have to do. Speaking of that, it's time to make this happen for realsy. Critical parts go together. Okay, let's put some bolts in it. All right, that's working. Let me get it all together. We'll go from there. All right, let's get on up in here and see what's going on. So, I was really worried about this can move up and down, and the other thing in the wheel is oblonged itself. We're still gonna do some measuring, of course, but the washers on this side have it self-centered pretty much. Plus this is centering it over here. I gotta push this in. I'm lucky enough you can push it in from the back. Anyways, we can get that in there. Once that's in there, this is kind of self-locating. Now we just have to figure out, you know, getting it even out of both sides. See, right now we're sticking out pretty far on this side. That's pretty close. And so I'm gonna leave it up like this. So that magnet's holding at 90. Throw another one on the other side. So that magnet's throwing at 90. Let's grab the last one. So we got a 90, 90, and a 90. So now we just gotta measure both sides, make sure they're all right. So now we gotta work on left to right and making sure it's centered. We need a ruler and a tape measure. Put the ruler flat on here. We do have to be careful on the other side because of the raised letters. Probably gonna throw out the measurements. 3/4 of an inch, inch, and 3/8. Okay. This is gonna be fun. So I wanna hold this in. And this I'm gonna tap that in. Okay, that worked. Measure again. Measure, 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 measure. All the tape measuring. Just over an inch. Oh, we're on. That's it right there. Nailed it. Bam. Yes. So if that's good, and that's got 3 squares on it. And then are we centered in the wheel? It looks to be so by eye. Not the easiest thing to measure. Let's see what we can do. 7 1/4. I think we are good to weld. Threw a nice healthy tack weld on the top, so let's flip it over. I kind of want to actually throw a couple more tack welds on this. I don't want it to move when I'm welding. And we're welding on the back side of this. We also don't want to heat it up and warp it. Can't see nothing on this helmet. All right, I don't think it can go anywhere now, at least I hope not. Go ahead and do a little more. Well, that's welded. Let's do uh-oh. It moved that way. Move that way. Maybe a quarter. Which way did it move? Again. I fixed it. Yes, sir. Cool beans. Now, pull it apart, weld the other side. The fact I could still move that is a little disconcerting. I think I might add some angles in here. Kind of gonna worry about that later. We really just gotta get this thing done. Can always come back to it. It might be strong enough just the way it is. I don't know. So I'll get back with you after I get this apart, welded, the other piece welded, bolted back together, and show you the finished product. Let's take it for a roll. I don't feel like my hands are going up and down very much. Perfect. Now, seems like it's perfect. Now all we gotta do is make it work on that bicycle. I don't want to stretch this bike if I don't have to. I really like this curve. So we definitely want to maintain that as much as possible. Honestly, what I'm thinking about doing is cutting this thing off right there. And then we'll make a straight bar to go across and then weld this back on. And same thing on the bottom. The only reason I'm not making like curves or anything fancy is because, well, I just don't think that's how it would have been done back in the day. And I'm trying to maintain this curve. So when you look at it aside, you still see that curve. Same thing down here. Now, what we are gonna have to do are these pedals have to go forward. I would say to at least here. We have to make a jack shaft anyway, so we gotta have room for that. Now, when we put these pedals forward, they're gonna put it into our forks. So our forks are gonna have to go forward. And we just gotta figure out what the best way to do that is without ruining the look of the bike. Trying to keep it as cruiser bike as possible. The other one I have, all I did was chop this bar, and I brought this neck back. So it puts the forks forward, lowers the bike down. Problem is it makes it really floppy when you do that. So maybe this time we add a bar to there and a bar to here and just move this whole thing like an inch forward and rake it a little bit. Yeah, still plenty to do. But like all my bikes, we're gonna start in the back. I think what I'm gonna do is these forks are bent. We gotta bend that back. Pull this crank out. Pull this off, pull this fender off, pull that back wheel off, and then try to cut it off as evenly as possible. And then we're gonna bolt it onto that wheel. That's all the way over there now. Well, that's gonna do it with this episode actually. I know I was gearing up to do the frame, but you have to come back for the next episode to see what I do with this frame. Just kind of giving you an idea. It's coming together. It is Tuesday night. I have until pretty much tomorrow night to have this done because I got other things I got to work on too before Autorama. Thursday afternoon at the latest. But it's getting there. It is getting there. Well, thanks for watching. If you want any of this good quality merch, links down below. That's my website. I make all my own merch. It's pretty cool. And God bless you, and I'll see you next time.